Hey, hey, hey. Okay, Saturday market breakdown. Let's do this. So, pairs are looking good. So, I did the Friday market breakdown yesterday morning. It was looking nice. Now, I'm going to be doing my Saturday market, Friday market breakdown yesterday, Saturday market breakdown this morning. So, it's around about 11:45. Markets are closed for the Forex. Um, I am primarily looking at Forex currencies just because I haven't really evaluated the commodities or indices just because there's so much on the table for Forex and a lot of my backtesting experiences on Forex. So I would favor Forex over commodities and indices until I've got a sufficient amount of data to for me to actually put them above anything else. But because there's just enough right now on Forex, I'm not going to divert my attention somewhere else. So going straight into it and looking at the DXY, the DXY is actually looking really nice as well. I mean, we're still, and I say this every week, in this sort of upwards momentum. However, something slightly different this week. Even though we're still in this corrective channel, we can still come down and retest this double bottom. So if this happens, yeah, it does kind of change quite a lot amongst a lot of charts, but it does present us with some amazing opportunity. And the cool thing about something like this is that had you missed a position over here on a lot of US related pairs, the position may be mapping itself for you to get re-entered in the market at a better price or even more strategic placement. So that's one of the things I really do like about the DXY at the moment. Obviously, there's two ways I'm kind of looking at this. We could either see it kind of, trickle up, push down, and then actually come in for this sort of 1, 2, 3 over here, and then go, and then this sort of somewhat evolves, and then we reevaluate the sort of how this price is getting there. Perhaps maybe we'll be looking at this new angle here, and then that new angle, and then we'll remove these lines. At the moment, it's still a little bit premature, but I think more so I'd be looking at something like this now, and I think this would be a really nice middle section for a long play. So, what type of impulsive phase and the impulsive phase is not too much of the concern. It's when we do kind of eventually break here, what sort of corrective phase will we be looking at? How long would the correction be? Because corrections can tend to take quite a long time as well, especially if we're trying to build up enough momentum to go up further. This may be enough for it to just impulse and just dramatically catch a lot of people on the wrong side, change a lot of things a lot across a lot of pairs. So DXY, pretty simple. Still looking at that high value area on the weekly, but for now, keeping it very simple and looking at the daily. There's just two ways I'm looking at this. I'm looking at this on the override, or potentially that we could either do that 1, 2, 3, or this 1, 2, 3. But even so, if looking at the way that price is moving down with momentum, if we don't get any structure, I'll definitely be looking for a push up and a flag, and then continuation, and then probably taking that piece of data to the Euro USD, and then trying to get into a strategic play there. So at the moment, this is looking really nice. And yeah, I'm going to move into the next one. Cool. So EuroCAD, not really much to say, I'll be honest with you. EuroCAD, just basically we've kind of created this potential middle section, but I'll be looking for more so some sort of structure on this. For that reason, I kind of just took this out because weighing up against other things, there wasn't really no major sort of inflection point I could really look at. This was the sort of area that I saw price could come to this override, but looking at a few other pairs, I would prefer to be on the case of some other pairs than this one. But in terms of, continuation to the downside, for sure, this is great. But it kind of just pushes me back into that area of price. And I don't want this to trickle and become something larger. So for that reason, I kind of just took Aussie CAD off. Sweet. So Aussie Swiss. Aussie Swiss is nice. I've left it on pink, which for me is kind of just filter through the pink and then kind of just decide on what I would like to put forward. But I think Aussie Swiss may potentially make it to my wildcards watch list. More so probably actually um, my watch list, because I think the way I'd be looking to take this is obviously this would be some larger structure here. This would be a middle section, and this could potentially be the top of the expanding to the high, and then with a final pattern within a pattern using multi-time frame analysis. Um, I'd then be looking for a 1, 2, 3 leading up to the top of this structure. So that's essentially what I'd really be looking for, and then a push down and a flag. Even though that there is more than enough context to actually be taking a trade in here, I think a push down and a flag is going to be more so the gameplay I'll be taking on Aussie Swiss. So um, that's basically it for Aussie Swiss, keeping it really simple. But Aussie Swiss is definitely looking like it's shaping up. You know, we've got this impulse correction, continuation, and now we're in that corrective phase again. Would not be surprised if we do reject in this sort of zone here. So retesting the back end of this sort of line in the sand. If we do reject, it'll be great to see if price can actually make it back down here, or if we create something a little bit more complicated. But at the moment, Aussie Swiss is pretty simple. Next one's Aussie New Zealand. Aussie New Zealand's not much different, but I'm a little bit more neutral on this particular pair. Reason being is I think it can just literally sell off and then get to this low, and then when we get to this low, we may sit there for a few days or we may reject. There's a lot of variations of what could potentially happen. But what I do really like about this at the moment is, you know, we could potentially form some nice structure here. So taking this as the first touch, second touch, not the most confirmed. It's just a point of interest. One, two, three. So I'd be looking at this come back down here, some level of rejection here, could even become a little bit more flatter, can come expanding. But even so, doesn't really matter about how when price gets here. It's just when it does go up, I'll be looking for that clear sort of middle sort of corrective. Well, I wouldn't say middle, so I'll take that final leg, but to be corrective, and then with a push down and a flag. Even if it is corrective, I'll be even looking for a phase line entry. If there is structure in that final leg, that would be somewhat more interesting as well. But that could take a little bit longer to play out. So, you know, this is one of them trades where this is the real trade that I'll be looking for and waiting for it to go low. But if this shapes up, I may entertain the trade only for the pure reason that in terms of a risk reward, let's say that I was able to get in here and I was able to slap in maybe, let's just say about 15, 14 pips. You know, easily there's about 8, and then it could even extend, push out a little bit further, mass psychology, so forth, and 10%. And then by the time it actually does come back, you know, I might have even 5% locked in, and I could be getting into the counter trend trade. So that's one of the things, and obviously that can kind of give me a little bit more lee room to actually take more on it. So sorry, take a more strategic position on this particular pair. Obviously, keeping risk the same. But yeah, that's basically it for Aussie New Zealand dollar. The next one I've got on watch is Aussie US dollar. Now, this is one that I've marked as yellow, orange, sorry. More so, it means that I'm really considering putting it onto my watch list. Sorry, my wildcards or watch list. And for the simple reasons that we are in a state of a correction or a pullback or even a reversal, right? But there's no significant point that I can see that we know we've rejected. And of course, this is just a inflection point. Yeah, absolutely, this could be enough for it to reverse and even get a lot higher. But how I'm seeing this corrective, well, this structure essentially on the way back up. So when we did start reversing from here, it wasn't very convincing because we did start moving correctively. As we had a near miss to here, we started correcting back down. I started to think this could potentially be a middle section to go higher, or this could just essentially pull back down and then we can go further. So, and then it could essentially become something like a running channel, or you know, could become a little bit more complicated. Now, looking at it now, it does definitely look like this could potentially be a flag to the downside. This being the high, meets with the high, and then we see it go down. So drilling down to the 4 hour now that we can actually establish the structure on that daily. Um, Looking at it on the 4 hour, I'll take this at point 1, 2, 3. Obviously, this doesn't have to be the exact point, but more so looking at this override section. And because we're moving there pretty impulsively, if we do not see a structured approach towards the end, but I still wouldn't entertain a risk entry, I'd be more so looking for a push down and flag. Two ways. I'll be looking at it on the override over here, or I'll be looking at it on the override over here. If we get the override and it goes to the high and it pushes down, and we see this sort of um, so I box them in as a range. If we kind of range sidewards and we correct and then we push with continuation, that's when I'll be looking to get involved. So during this box period over here, a reduced risk entry would definitely be of interest if the flag is of appropriate size. More so looking at this around about 22. To the low, we could essentially be looking at 14%, even with the same flag down here. Could be a little bit less on the stop size. Stop size is slightly irrelevant as long as I can actually manage it. And then 18% to the low. Of course, looking at this now, I believe that this definitely has a lot of potential to go further. And I think that is one of the main reasons why I've decided to take this into strong consideration for putting it into watch for next week. The next one I'm going to be looking at is Aussie Yen. The reason why I took this one out was I just don't think it's ready enough. And looking at a lot of the yen pairs, it's not something that I think is really what I want to be trading. I think I prefer to be getting involved in these higher time, high value area structures. Definitely looks like an impulse, larger correction, and then continuation. So this is not the sort of position I want to be getting short on, unless we're actually significantly changing in data. However, there is that sort of head and shoulders feel as well to it. But I definitely think that this and a few other yen pairs has a lot of momentum in it. So looking at the yen pairs, and you'll probably see it across the ones that I've gone through. I just chose to opt out of them. I think that we're going to see a lot of trickling momentum. Price is just going to keep trickling in, and then we're going to essentially make it to sort of this sort of left shoulder zone here, the head zone, or even further on to the top of this level here. So for those pure reasons, I just opted out of Aussie yen. The next one I'm looking at is CAD Swiss. CAD Swiss is one that I've also marked as orange, meaning that I'm somewhat very interested in this. So evaluating it on the Friday morning, it definitely was looking like on the. So if I go to the weekly, I was looking at this weekly inflection point over here. It's no major significance, however, it is a inflection point, and there was a small sort of gap, but it was filled. And then we had the daily candle close. Now, even though it's a bullish pin bar, it's definitely looking like, sellers have really pushed price in this point here. Drilling down to the 4 hour, we definitely have a morning start in a very high value area. Not very high value, but an inflection point doesn't hold a huge amount of weight. However, leading up to this structure, it's not the cleanest, but we can essentially just say, there's essentially price exhausting. So, however you want to look at it, this could essentially be a 1, 2, 3 to the inflection point for the daily, weekly. Um, and then if we go to the hourly, I'm essentially just keeping it very simple. This could essentially be left shoulder, head, right shoulder in a valuable point of interest. Essentially, we also have this override zone here. So I'll just draw on the 1, 2, 3 I was looking at, and I will look at this inflection point over here. And looking at it like that, this obviously wasn't the sort of price action that was able to commit, pushed up, pushed back down. And I think if we create a larger flag here, for sure, um, this could be of interest to the low. Or more so, if we just get that sort of impulse, we break this and we create a flag down here, that would be more so of interest to myself. Risk reward wise, absolutely good as well. So I think there's definitely a lot of potential for CAD Swiss at the moment, and there's no sort of, well, I mean, with this sort of corrective leg up, um, it's not giving me any indication that momentum is really in the favor for the Bulls at the moment. It seems like we could take a turning point, and if we do sell, we could get a nice little sell off to around about inflection point 1, 2, 3, 4, and so forth. So we have a few target zones that we can look at, but I think this could essentially be the larger term continuation to the near miss that we had previously. So if we look at this point over here, this is where I'm really interested to see if price can actually fill this near miss. So this was the near miss for CAD Swiss, and can we reject from here and somehow make our way back down here eventually? Perhaps maybe we even might scoop, we might create something a little bit larger, something like this, but at the moment it's not what I'm really focused on. I'm more so just looking at the current price and just seeing, okay, cool. Can we um, can we actually just get there? And I think looking at that larger flag is not really of interest. I'm more so interested to see currently from where we are. If we feel this price again before we go, and then create a bearish pin bar, this gives us a double tweezer top. Essentially, that might be something of interest as well. But at the moment, I think this one could be making it to watch list pretty quickly compared to a few other pairs. So that's something of main interest to me, and that's the main reason why I have marked it as orange. Next one is CAD Yen. So, unlike a few of the other yen pairs, I did opt into potentially considering this particular yen pair amongst a few of the others. Only for the reason being on the weekly, there is signs of, you know, obviously the bullish continuation to keep going further, but we have met with sort of inflection zones, and then we started to stall ever so slightly. So, this being one, and then this being the next, and we broke it. When we did break it, drilling down to the hourly, looking at it like this, we actually created, well, we had the mass psychology, we had a near miss, which doesn't essentially need to be it, but the only issue is we have impulse, correction, and then in a form of continuation, right? It doesn't need to go from here, but then we had a strong push down, and now we're having some sort of larger flag forming here. So this is something that I think definitely we could get involved in and definitely be inside this sort of range before we go forward. But I think at the moment this is definitely looking some level of bullish, but because we've broken that mass psychology, a lot can change. It isn't the highest of value areas, but it definitely holds some weight. And I think, if we're going to see a turnaround, we are in definitely treading in some very good territory for it. Um, so I think definitely to be monitoring CAD yen, if even if it's not being traded, it's definitely one to be monitored because I think the yen pairs are somewhat looking like, well, this particular yen pair is looking like it could be turning around, um, and there is potential for this larger structure to form, which I don't think I would not consider this, but I think more so, this could be the final bit. Next one, Swiss yen. I think I prefer Swiss yen over CAD yen, but I put them both in there just because I wanted to reevaluate with a new set of eyes tomorrow. Um, sorry, I did sneeze a couple times just before I filmed this. So yeah, so essentially on the weekly, it's very, very, it's not the clearest of days, but when you zoom out ever so slightly and squeeze it, in the state of where we are, this is now becoming quite corrective. Well, it is corrective, but in the state of impulse, correction, continuation, correction. Could we form a larger correction before we do anything? Looking at it on the week, what was it, the weekly? Yeah, we are in this sort of zone here as well, which, to me, I think this is a very key area as well, same as CAD yen. And I think turning point wise, it can be in that area of, just easily deceiving you. But I think this is also on the table as well. The same amongst a few other pairs. So we could easily see this as a middle section to go higher, and then we see a sell off. So I wouldn't just count my bucks for a purchase or sell. I would more so be quite neutral and then just wait and evaluate because there'll be an abundance of opportunity. Um, but yeah, essentially that would be it. So that's one of the reasons why I've kind of been out of yen pairs because they do look like they have that final bull leg in them. And that would be quite nice for a final ending structure for this high override sort of inflection zone. So would that lead to anything significant? Well, it would bring us back up to these highs. We may end up with a near miss. We may actually reach it. A few variations on the table. I think personally, yeah, it's one of them ones where we just have to evaluate. But yeah, it's a very, very huge time in the markets for yen pairs, especially Swiss yen as well, because we're meeting a very, very high value area, and we've done it with quite a few pairs. We haven't done it in around about 8 years or odd, so 2000 since 2008 for a couple pairs, Euro pairs, GBP pairs, so it's very significant. Um, so yeah, I'm extra patient with this one, but I don't think I would put my yen pairs on watch list or wildcards, but I think there will be for next week. Next one is Euro Aussie. So Euro Aussie is looking nice. Euro Aussie is basically one that I have been considering potentially putting on my watch list wildcards. Not too sure. It's it's definitely shaped up. Okay, so this is how I see it. I see it as we had this sort of structure here, and we've basically just broken out, pushed back in, and now we're creating a flag. The flag that we've created, unfortunately, isn't the sort of price action I would want to entertain for a short now because it's very corrective on the way down. However, what we have on the lower time frames is we have this sort of so let's call this this is the larger expanding, which is over here. And then at the top of it, we have, let's say, another expanding in it. Now, this expanding actually broke. So we broke out and then we pushed back in, but we pushed back in correctively in the form of a bull flag now. So now that the price has actually sort of, kind of tipped away for quite a bit, there's a bull flag. Now, refining inside there ever so much, we can see that there's a 1, 2, 3. So the over here we have that impulse down, but leading with a 1, 2, 3. Now it's not the highest of probability, but I guess it comes in with sort of just really reading between the lines at this point. And the way I see it is we had a 1, 2, 3, had a strong push away now. This has broken all of that price there as well. So this is the absolute low, pushed back straight back in, and now we're creating continuation to go further. This could be the beginning of the run back up high. And I think this could either run to this high or even make it up here. So if we're looking at a reduced risk entry on the 15-minute chart, and let's just say I slap it in there, this would be way too large anyway. This would be about 60 pips. But if we can get some structure, and this could even be a bull flag. Just to kind of break it up. This could be a bull flag to continue. Obviously, it's not in the most cleanest form, but it's not the sort of flag I'm going to be taking at this point. But even so, if the trade was taken here, you could protect yourself around about, let's say, around about. I think extra protection would be 43. I think generic protection around about 28 pips, and then to the high around about 5%. Obviously, we have to bear in mind that we're still in this corrective trend, so we can still push lower, and then to that high, and so forth. Let's just quickly just squeeze that up. So yeah, so this is looking pretty good. To this high, we're looking at about 11% there, 12% to the top of the expanding, and then probably 27% to the high. I wouldn't be taking this bull flag though. I'd be waiting for some sort of small structure, perhaps maybe a comeback down here. So I'll be looking at something more so like this, and then I would want to see price come back down here. And then when price does reach there, perhaps maybe I might look for a trade. I think this would be somewhat on the more riskier side of things, though. I think more so a 1, 2, 3 would be nicer. So if we can actually push up, come back down, and then go, that's something I'll be more interested in because then we have two tops, two bottoms, and that would kind of give you a bit more validation. So I don't think I would entertain this trade straight to the low. I would wait for it to go to the high and then bounce off the low, and then at that point there, I'd be interested in kind of getting long, and then I'll be in the run. And I think that would be a great place to protect myself because if this does go here and then rejects and comes back down, I'm I have more than enough room to manage it. I could even squeeze in a bit of a tighter trade as well. So evaluating, let's just say that we do come into here and let's just squeeze them up. And I do take a buy. Say the buy comes in over here. Stop loss about there. Yeah, about 14 pips could be about reasonable. Um, and then yeah, just weighing up the risk reward there. I think that is going to be a monster trade. That's 23, and then yeah, we're probably looking at 60 odd, yeah, 50, 60%. So yeah, so that's yeah, that's going to be a good trade. So I mean, that's real like solid, like it's got to play out to the way I'm looking at it, and odds are it's gonna obviously this will be some level of section could push higher, more flags up there, abundance of opportunity. So even if I was to take a larger stop, it doesn't really matter as long as I'm, strategically placing myself at the right time in the right place. But yeah, that's it for Euro Aussie. Next one's EuroCAD. Now, EuroCAD I have on as orange as well. So looking at it on the higher time frame, the weekly. So we had the strong push away. We came down to the inflection zone. I did mark this on, but I did unfortunately miss the opportunity. It was my partner's birthday, so didn't really have time to monitor it. But um, but I did get alerted. So when I did get alerted, I saw the trade. I didn't take advantage of it, but I was aware of it. When I saw this sort of push up, I selected it on the 15. I was like, okay, we had the strong push down. Then I was like, okay, if we push back in, so at this point here, when it was around about here, and then it closed there. So if we push back in, I could probably get in. So I went to the 5 minute and just looked at it and I was like, okay, I would probably entertain a risk entry, but because this is impulsive, I think I'll wait for a push up and a flag. Now, the push up and the flag truly was here. This is perfect place to be entering the market, in my opinion. I'd be more than happy, and that would be running about 1.2. So, in my eyes, that was the solid trade. That if I was by the screens, I would have taken that hands down. But more so, I was looking at this, and I was like, okay, cool. If I did take a risk entry, it'd be about there. So I wait, push up, close, 5 minute. Price sat there, and I was like, this is more on the riskier side of things, and you have to understand that if you take a trade like this, you could be tagged in and out countless amount of times. So, but looking at this, I was like, cool. I think yeah. I mean, that trade probably not the best trades. This trade is way better. This is a way better trade. Now, how we would have taken it is we would have had to read between the lines, to be honest, because it didn't actually come down and create any double bottoms in there. It essentially just kept going. So a reduced risk entry may have potentially been the best play for this. Um, yeah, and it would have been roughly around about, let's just call it, yeah, around about here. Yeah, I would say it's around about 30 pip stop loss. It could squeeze a bit more actually, to be fair, about 34. Yeah, so you'd be running about 1.5, but still, in terms of where price is going, I think if this does go to this back to this high, you're definitely looking at a 9 to 9.6 for strategically placing yourself there, and this could just go. So, larger flag, looking for a larger flag now. Doesn't have to be that big, but a little bit larger, could be around about here. And then when I get that, I'll basically be looking to entertain that for a long. So, but the good thing is that we've impulsively rejected from this low. So strong indication that we could be seeing some sort of good pullback on EuroCAD, and I think for that reason, it's definitely one to be really considering for next week because the earning potential is good. This looks like a really good middle section towards this sort of larger pattern here. Does have a little bit of an expanding feel to it now, but we'll evaluate it next week and see how it develops. Obviously, something can change and price can just continue to sell off. But I think at this point, with this impulse from this inflection zone, this low does hold some value. So to me, I think more so, I'm very interested to see how this plays out. Now, this one is sick. This is Euro Swiss. Now, Euro Swiss is one I've opted to most certainly put in on my watch list. Okay, I'm going to go through the weekly quickly. So, the weekly, obviously, mass psychology wise, we've basically broken and hit this right now. Nowhere does it say that we have to go bullish. We can go bearish before we go bullish. But what I do like is, even though we've reached this high, how we've rejected from this high is in the form of a bull flag. This is just an inflection zone, though. This isn't anywhere to say this is the line in the sand. This is not like a point of extreme low. So if this was the low, and then we had that sort of price action there, then I'd be okay. That's something that I'll be thinking about. But this can do two things now. This can either be a larger channel to go further, which by all means is not a problem at all. Could be a larger channel, could be a part of something much larger, which this is kind of the only one thing that I was like, you know, this, but we didn't quite get there anyway. And then are we forming something like this? So that was something that I was a little bit like, that's a possibility, right? However, there's no real confirmation of that at this point, and that's just 2 points that could be overthought. So just analyzing price for what it is, a inflection point that kind of sticks out on the daily. Um, Not of any major interest. This could be a point, this could be a point, this could be a point. Not so much of a concern about the low right now after override. What I'm more so interested in is this potential bull flag and this 1, 2, 3. Now, if we get this 1, 2, 3, so be it. But if we continue to sell off, so be it. So this sort of ray line would essentially be down here, I just marked it in as theirs. That was the most earliest point from there. So I'll just be weary. But looking at it from here, the short is definitely on the table, right? We have major point here that we've touched. We moved in. We've pushed down. We pushed up, created this sort of double top. 1, 2, 3. Pushed it back down. Created a continue. We pushed down impulsively, created correction, continuation, and then now a larger correction. This larger correction is somewhat of a falcon flag in my opinion. It's just not the cleanest, but we have it essentially like this. And what I do like is that we've come to the third touch now, and I don't think a lot of people would have noticed it as well. So we've come to the 1, 2, 3. Go to the 15-minute. Are we creating a head and shoulders on this 1, 2, 3? We are in this value point here. So if I just essentially take on the ray line and I say that this is the override, we push back in. We've literally pushed back in to the under the override. So this is the sort of price action I'm looking for a continuation to the downside. Now, yeah, absolutely, it can just create a larger flag and continue higher. But I think in terms of probability, I'm interested in the short. I'm very much interested in the short. This is a nice middle section towards this as well. So looking at it now, I would evolve this ever so slightly. Take that, put that over here, put that there, and say that this is the potential flag. And this could form as the running channel, essentially. This could actually just continue and go low. So I'm not too concerned with where price will end up going to. I mean, I would look at that as a point. I would look at that as an area as well, but I'm just looking at it as a point of interest. You know, if price pushes down and pushes back up and creates a flag, my stop loss will be there and I'll be out. So, simple management. I'm preparing myself for the management now so that if this trade does play out the way I forecast it or the variations of forecast to come, I'm preparing myself mentally so that there's no FOMO, there's no, distress, none of that. So simple, looking for a flag now, and that's it. If it does sell off and it goes without me, it is what it is. But for that simple reason, I think I'm going to keep this on watch. If we do start pushing up higher, then I think I might just opt in and do a re-analysis and then opt in for a different pair or just remove it from my watch list because I think I'm going to keep this one based upon literally what I'm looking for. So that's it really for this particular pair, Euro Swiss. The next one I'm looking at is Euro GBP. Now, Euro GBP is also one I've marked in as a watch list, so screen. What I do like about it is we had this strong impulse down. We did come down correctively towards the end, but we didn't actually, we came in with a near miss over here. So it's all near miss territory for me. I think this might be an indication that we are coming back down to this low. This was hell of impulsive though. I mean, what a day, right? I think Thursday was a solid day for Euro GBP, especially. We had that strong push up, and then we formed a small correction and then pushed up, but then we actually retraced. We broke the mass psychology. We retraced back in 4-hour retrace, pushed down, and now we're in flag territory. It's one of those ones where I kind of feel like I just want to get involved now, but I feel that I am risking too much by doing that. I think this is not sort of the sort of price I want. I think this is an anomaly anyway. I'm going to take it as an anomaly because I don't really think that, you know, this sort of price action is normal anyway. It was very quick. It was less than a minute. I mean, what sort of price action is that? So I'm looking for this sort of flag now. So we've had the push down. I'm looking for a flag, a 1, 2, 3 override, whatever it might be, a pattern within a pattern, and then I'll be looking for the trade over here. This one's really simple and really nice as well. If it does play out, it plays out, it'll be great. And then I'll be taking it over here. Let's just say that I take it for even a 10 pip stop loss. That is 11, but let's just say 10. And then managing it to the low there. So it's got enough room to manage from break even. I probably will hold the 1% even if we get to this low until we break the low and we start moving down here. That's when I might get break even and then so forth. And then to this low about 3% and then 5, 6, and then so forth. So larger flag territory, head and shoulders potentially on the table as well. A few variations, but I think this is going to be a solid trade for next week, and I think definitely this. I'm so excited about Euro GBP. So, yeah, that's it for this one. Next one I'm looking at is not going to be Euro New Zealand dollar because it's very neutral. This one, it's very iffy at the moment. We did have that impulse, very messy correction on the low. We could either go push down flag, push up flag, have to go above this line in the sand as well. There's too many variations on the table at the moment. There's much better pairs, so for that reason, I just opted out for this one. I will definitely go back tomorrow and have another look at it, but for now, I think I'm just not interested until I see something significant. That's that, and I mean, there's more than enough time for me to be really getting involved in these particular pairs, but there's so many inflection points on the way down, and this is getting fairly corrective. I think I'd be looking for something much larger with more structure on the 4 hour, which is visible, kind of jumps out, smacks me in the face. That's what I'm looking for. So Euro New Zealand, that's off the table for me. Next one is Euro USD. Now, I actually was considering putting this one as orange as well. I do like it. I've been eyeing up Euro USD for quite a while now. It's one of those pairs that I'm really adjusting to, and I'm really liking it because it's such a nice pair, you know. And I think with the experience I've gained over the past few years, um, it's just, you know, I'm getting more and more familiarized with particular pairs, and they're jumping out to me, and I'm like, you know, I really like this, and the information is sticking. So I think for a lot of people who are in the journey as well, like stick at it because honestly, trading only gets better and better the more you spend time on it. So, you know, everything just it's just so beautiful, honestly. And Euro USD paints the real picture. At first, you know, it didn't seem to jump out to me, even though I did so much back testing, I did so much data collection, you know, checking patterns on it, and it was just kind of more task driven. But now it's kind of more like the hard work pays off. And even though I haven't really capitalized on Euro USD much, um, it's just incredible being able to actually analyze it and just take advantage of understanding what's happening in the market. So really simple and easy. I've evolved this ever so much. This is the low, this is the high of what we're looking at. We had a push down, push up, middle section. Now we're pushing up. We can come to the override, push down in the flag. We can go to the third touch, which meets with the override over here, push down in the flag. Looking at it both ways. Start off this run has been impulsive, which is the third leg, so it's not uncommon, but a push down on the flag is more of interest. If we do start creating structure, I'll reevaluate it and then potentially look for a push down on the flag, but further down the line. I'm not going to be looking for any risk entries, unfortunately, unless there's something significant, and it's definitely a win-win opportunity for me. But it would be more so something like a mini double top sort of risk entry. I'll be looking for something like this, something like that. You know, those are the sort of things I'll be looking for if it does come to that. But for now, you know, there's still potential for this to override in these zones, but I'm not interested in those zones. I'm interested in this zone and I'm interested in this zone. So those are the two ways I'm going to be looking to take it. Euro yen, to be honest, not really anything I'm looking at. We haven't really come to this low. We haven't come to that high. We're just kind of sitting in the middle of price. We could create something a little bit larger, you know, something ever so much like this. Or we could even create a larger pattern in the middle. You know, there's a few variations, but at the moment it's very premature for me. And looking at the high time frame structure, I don't think I'm interested. I might be missing something quite critical on this pair, but at the moment, you know, I'm more than happy to stay out of this particular pair. I mean, it's not in any sort of major level of significance yet. I would like to see it reach this high before I start looking at shorts. We are so close there. We're creating some sort of trickling sideways momentum. Are we just going to push up and then get the sell off? That's what I'm looking for. If I miss it, so be it. Because you know, by next week we're going to be between the 7th and the 12th. So most probably the week after, I'll be, you know, the trade would already be in the run. Probably will be down here creating a larger flag and I can look to get involved then. But for now, I'm just going to stay out of EJ. Good. Next one is GBP Aussie. So GBP Aussie is quite nice. So looking at it on the daily, we had this higher level, we broke it, and then we pushed back in. We did come for a retest, near miss, doesn't really matter. We then sold off. There was a 1, 2, 3 within there, and there was also a hover, which I'll see on the 4 hour. So we had a 1, 2, 3 here, and then we had a hover over here. Right. Now, the thing about this is I was looking for perfection, so I missed this. I said it in almost every video, looking for perfection and missed this one as well. It is what it is at the end of the day. We did sell off, and now I'm just looking for continuation under this low. This is more of a higher probability trade, in my opinion, anyway. And I'd love to get into opportunities like this. So if we can get presented with a nice structured sort of flag over here, that would be something of interest. However, I'm not going to cross off the board that we could push up, create a flag, and continue higher. that's also a possibility as well. But it's not really a long-term short play for me. It's more so a counter trend. So well, for that reason, I may not actually opt in and take this on board, but this is going to be a solid position to that low. And if I can get in it, I would be looking for a position with at least within the 15 pip stop range. So, it'd be refinement sort of territory. Let's just say that I can, even the 16 pip, let's just say, it's about 20% to that low anyway. So there's definitely a very good possibilities in terms of risk reward, positioning, and protection. And those are the things that I'm really more interested in at this point. So this is one of the reasons why I did highlight it as pink, and I'll reevaluate it compared to some of the other pairs. But I'm pretty sure that this pair will make it to my wildcards. But yeah, that's GA. The next one I've got is GBP CAD. So GBP CAD is actually pretty cool. So after analyzing this, there's something I found which was quite interesting. So going off the Falcon 90% rule, right? We basically had this sort of 1-2 double top override, near miss to the third touch, not so needed, hover, massive sell off, great, impulsive pull. We actually pushed all the way down to the 90%. It's funny how we tapped into 90% and now we're moving back up higher. I'm more than interested even to see this sort of morning star there as well. Will we just continue and push up higher? And now if we move that, that'll be something quite super cool actually, to be honest. So that's something that I'm just watching, looking at. I've been pretty long-minded in terms of GBP pairs at the moment, just because there was some significant data there, impulse, correction, and then continuation and so forth. So with that strong push down though, that's definitely impulsive, and we have filled the 90% rule. So that's completed in my eyes. There's no sort of opportunity for me to really sell at this point unless we see a larger structure. And if we see something, like that, then I might be entertaining a short down there to that low. But at this point now, if we see a push up and a flag, I will definitely take a long. I will take a long because I truly believe, and it would essentially have to be above that bit anyway, that bit of price, just to cancel out any sort of larger sort of flag territory. But yeah, more so, I'll go long because I think in the long run that the long is the play, and I think getting long in these particular pairs is going to be very strategic and good. And we might even move up as quick as we move down. So looking at GPCAD, that is one I've marked as orange, and I'm going to be more than excited to have a look at that next week. So quite neutral with this, but I'm also looking for the long. But if we do get a larger flag, make it to that low, then I'll be looking at evaluating at this low and then kind of see a break, push down, and a flag, push up, and a flag. But yeah, so essentially that's basically all structured play. But yeah. Okay, cool. So one that I really do like as well is GP Swiss, but I didn't choose to put it on as orange. I put it on as pink, meaning that I'm going to consider it tomorrow on Sunday before I do my final Sunday market breakdown. But what I do like about this is we came to this inflection point, nothing of major significance, but we fully retraced. We actually engulfed the whole price. And what I do like about it is we came in as a form of a 1, 2, 3 to that inflection point, which over here, if I get the right tool, over here, if we look at it like that, we had a 1, 2, 3, then we had a retrace on the daily, perfect. And then, essentially that's it's not the best of angles, but that's solid. Are we moving down impulsively? Absolutely. I do like this. I think that this has room to really go. I'm so bummed that I missed this. Like I must have been analyzing it and just been like, meh, it doesn't look like the most progressive and so forth, but structure in there as well. Right now we're creating expanding on these particular inflection zones. Let's take the 90% rule on this quickly, and let's just look at it like that. We have room. We have room. We could potentially even come to this low here. And I think in terms of risk reward, let's say that I even get to the top of this pattern here. Let's say that I was able to take a sort of 25 pip, even to that low, there's still about a full 15%. Damn, like, sometimes you kind of, you got to kind of hit yourself and think, yeah, I mean, man, honestly, sick, fucking sick. Cool. So anyway, we came to that, we inflected, we pushed down, we're solid push down. Now I'm just looking for that larger flag. Nice thing that's an expanding. Unfortunately, it's expanding at this insignificant low. However, not so much matters. Just push up, push down, and a flag. Probably a little refinement in there. I like that. yeah, so essentially, yeah, I'll be looking at. I mean, there's a potential bull play here, and I was looking at the bull play, but I think that's one play there. There could be a counter trend play in here now, where we could take this and then hedge our position. Um, but at the moment, I think I will just wait and be patient. If we get a structured approach to that final touch, that would be interesting. Um, but yeah, it looks a bit corrective, so I'll definitely be eyeing it up like that, and then I'll be looking for that push down and a flag, keeping it very simple and easy. Push down and a flag, just like that. So yeah, cool. But yeah, that's it really. So for that reason, that's GBP Swiss. Next one is GBP New Zealand. So this one is one that I think larger flag territory. If we do get a larger flag here, it's going to be somewhat of high probability. Okay, we have this amazing head and shoulders. Didn't quite meet the right shoulder, left shoulder. Don't need to. We push down. If we get a larger flag here, which could take 2-3 days to form, which I think would be appropriate, maybe even a day sometimes, but 2-3 days makes sense. Nice large corrective flag, boom, push down for the low, and I think that would be a solid trade. But for now, I think it's moved down so impulsively. I think we might get something more in the eyes of a potential bear flag. Just yeah, I need to be on top of my game with this one. We could gravitate higher as well, but structure. That's all I'm looking for. Literally, just structure. That's all I want. Some nice structure in there, and I might get it. So it's one I marked as pink, but I think it won't make it onto my wildcards or watch list or wildcards, only because it hasn't began the structure and it's still in the impulsive phase. So until we come back into that corrective phase, perhaps maybe then we'll look at these sort of inflection points here and so forth. But at this point, nah, I think I'm just going to leave it out. So this is one that didn't really make it. I just think it's not really the easiest one to analyze. I mean, so looking at it on the weekly, it's been very sort of impulsive, but there's been some corrections in there as well. So I'd say that's a very corrective squeeze low. We have kind of come back down to this low and pushed up. However, how we started pushing up now is not really the best of price action, in my opinion. I think we are creating some sort of running channel further, but it's a difficult one because I can't really, and I don't really want to guess, if you know what I mean. I don't want to, just assume that, okay, let's just say that this is the angle and we're playing this. So, it's just one of them ones where I definitely think that this is the angle, but it's that's not. I don't know. I really don't know. I think larger flag push up would be the go play, but I think it's just one of them ones where I just think there's so many better things on the table. This one can still push down lower and then create something a little bit more complex. Yeah, I mean, there's that, there's this. I mean, that's not probably one, but I think I'm just gonna leave it and then wait for some proper structure, and then when I've missed it, I'll be like, okay. And I think that's pretty much the gameplay for GU. So I've left GU out, to be honest. Also, that's that left out GJ. I'm quite neutral with this. We haven't really come to that low yet. Of course, we can just push up now, but more so, I wanted to see how price reacts to that low. This could happen in a day or two, to be honest, but if this creates some sort of larger flag, I may not be interested in entertaining a trade immediately because I will just be inside this corrective phase. And at this point, GJ has been solid. Honestly, it's been one of the most solid trades I've seen in a long time in terms of commitment, structure, opportunity. It definitely opens your eyes up to, the sort of abundance of opportunities in life. But most importantly, larger flag territory. So, is this going to really be the low? Is this going to be a larger flag that corrects ever so much more? I just think with that amount of momentum, sorry, that's a bit big. Um, I might look at something like that before we go short. Wouldn't be surprised if we do create something more complicated, but I think GJ, if I wanted to get involved, it would be here at this time. I think larger flag territory now. If I see a larger flag forming, then that's when I'll kind of just change my eyes and be like, okay, let me evaluate. But I want to backtest this pair a bit more as well, and get a bit more used to GJ. But yeah, I think for now, I'm more than happy to leave it off and just kind of understand it a little bit better before I do start taking some trades on it. Next one is New Zealand CAD. So I just wanted to put this one on there. I'm not looking for any trades at this point, but there was a mistrade, not mistrade, sorry, a trade that could have been phenomenal, but it didn't unfortunately play out. So Friday I was looking at this trade here, and essentially this is how I saw it. So weekly, we had the weekly, and basically that was an inflection point there. Okay, drill into the daily, we saw this, that we had that sort of pin bar push down, and then I was like, oh, sick. Okay, if we get continuation, this is going to be a fiery trade. So I thought, okay, cool. We had that solid push down here. We broke that. Okay, we're trading below the low now. Can we see continuation? So I drilled down, and this was the low that I was looking at. And then I saw this. So I was like, okay, sick. So then I saw these two highs. I was like, oh, that is as clear as day. If this committed and pushed down and had a flag here, man, that think about how amazing that trade would have been, like structurally and so forth. That was a trade that I was so interested in, and unfortunately, um, it didn't play out. So when it got about there, I was like, "Oh, this is gonna be it." And I was out and about. It was around about 2 o'clock, I think. Yeah, 2 o'clock. I was like, "Damn! Look, we had that strong push down. We're creating a flag, and we go." That would have been phenomenal, phenomenal. But because it didn't really play out, and now it's just got a little bit more messy, it can still just play out. But I think that was a sort of price action and trade I would have loved to be in. But unfortunately, it didn't play out. So for that reason, I've kind of just left it off. Look at them high inflection points, double tops, whatnot. But there's so many better offer trades on the table now. So, but yeah, that was a sick one. Next one's New Zealand Swiss. Now, this one I've definitely got my eyes on. I think this is going to be making it to my watch list or my wildcards. So let's just look at the daily quickly. So daily, we've come back to this inflection point. Nothing of major significance. We're still in this trickling momentum. However, how we've kind of reached that inflection point, is we've created this sort of expanding. Now, in the term of this trickling sort of momentum, expanding would basically entice a bull play, right? But price is kind of exhausting in my opinion. It looks like it's just kind of slowing down, and what I'm seeing is this sort of 1, 2, 3 in here. Now, this first flag I probably won't entertain it, but if we get a solid impulsive push down and a flag here, that's the sort of trade I'm looking for. So really and truly, we have a 1, 2, 3 to that inflection point, which isn't very high value, but it is an inflection point indeed. If we do kind of bypass, we push up and then we create a flag, that's it. That's the gameplay. Compared to a lot of the other stuff we have on the table, I'm not too sure if I would opt in 100% for this one, so I'll have to reevaluate tomorrow. But I really like this pair. I think it has a lot of potential. Definitely reading between the lines, and it's trades like this that I see just bank on huge percentages because it's your analytical um, smarts that really just pays off at that point. But it's not the most clearest of trades, unfortunately, and this final approach isn't the most corrective, but it is a corrective squeeze. It's just obviously it's just trickling now, and we could continue. That's why I want to see that strong impulse phase line. We've broken it, and then a flag continuation. That's it. So yeah, that's my gameplay for New Zealand Swiss. US dollar, New Zealand US dollar. So New Zealand US dollar is one that I just didn't opt in for. It's still way away. I think it needs to come up to around about this high. So definitely could happen about next week, but I'll wait for that solid continuation on the way down. So if we do reject off that inflection point, then I might look for something. But at this point, it's too premature for me. I'm not really looking for anything at this point. I think I'll be patient and then wait for the market to really reveal itself, especially with this sort of impulsive move up now. Yeah, I think I just want to be patient with. New Zealand yen. So New Zealand yen, I think trickling momentum. We're in that corrective squeeze up. Nothing significant has changed for me. We have met this sort of inflection point, but we are like almost a day away, and we're so close to this high. I think um, if this sells and then starts creating something obvious, then yeah, okay, I might look in entertaining that. But I think for now, I think definitely like a few other yen pairs, I think we still have that sort of bullish momentum in it, and it's an impulsive approach. So I won't be looking for a trade immediately. I'll be looking for something significant to change on the higher time frames before I drill down. Next one is USD CAD. USD CAD I've left on a possibility. It's very neutral at the moment. We've had an impulsive approach. If we push down, create a flag, I'll be looking for continuation lower. If we push back up and create a flag, I might be looking for a continuation higher. At the moment, it does look like there's a near miss head and shoulders to some insignificant inflection points here, but this also is the sort of area I was looking at. We did kind of commit now and we're pushing lower. So I think definitely there's room for a short because evaluating USD CAD for quite a while, we did have some structure towards meeting this. Could claim that this was the high for the left shoulder. I mean, and this was the left, sorry, and this was the right. I mean, yeah, I mean, more so now, I'm just more so interested in this bit here. Push down, flag, continuation, push back up, flag, continuation. Simple. US dollar Swiss. So I was looking for 123. I marked this on Thursday, and oh no, actually no, this wasn't the trade. I was looking for a 123 and then a push down and a flag. Unfortunately, didn't get that. We just had an immediate on the point head and sorry, double top rejection, which is more than enough to be honest. Now that we've had that impulsive push down, I'll be looking for some sort of continuation. This was a mistrade for me, so. I'm marking it in here. I'm just trying to remember why it was a mistrade. So yeah, it was just, I think it was the double top. I should have really read between it. So this was the mistrade here, essentially. So if I remove this, and I thought because it was impulsive, I would want to see this sort of correct here, and then correct, push up, correct, and go. But then this was a sort of flag in here that I could have probably taken advantage of, and then taken that for the short. That is the mistrade that I was looking at, and hence the reason I marked it as a red. And I think if this played out, I think that would have been a really nice trade, and I'd be in for a good trade. Be managing around about probably being a bit more aggressive at this point, but about 3% ish, and then running around about 5. So was a good trade. Just unfortunately it was missed. But I think because of that creative squeeze, I was put off by it. But that was the trade, and then I think there was some potential, but it is what it is. It is what it is. Next one is USD yen. Nothing to really report on this one, I'll be honest with you. If I was going to be looking for something, it would be a larger flag, something with structure. And yeah, I think that would be it there. But yeah, not really anything I can really say I like about USD yen at the moment on the 15-minute, that is. On the 4 hour, nothing as well. I mean, I couldn't even drill down, I'll be honest with you, from the daily. I'll just be like, this is just a push down, very large corrective structure. Can't really say what's going on. It could just be a corrective squeeze sideways to go higher. Could be. I'm very neutral, very, very neutral, unfortunately. And I think even if I was to go to the 4 hour and try find something, I'd be forcing it. So I think for that reason, seeing that, just stay out of this. But if I was going to be taking it, like I said, it'd be some sort of obvious on the 1 hour for sure, but some sort of structure over here to take a short, but not a trade I'm interested in entertaining, to be honest. And the last one I've got is US dollar ZAR. So this one is also marked as red. This is one that I was eyeing up on Friday when I did my analysis. And essentially, we had the 1, 2, 3. I think we were somewhere in this momentum here. And I was looking for the push out on the flag. It's a mistrade. The 1, 2, 3 was sick. It's a really good trade, honestly. If I just go to the weekly, just drill down for you. So we had mass psychology area here. We broke above. We were looking for price to potentially turn around. It's been very corrective, as you can see, but had to read between the lines. Going to the 4 hour, we could see that there was structure leading up to this high. I was looking for perfection again, which is not a problem. I mean, I wanted to see it kind of reach this sort of higher bit here, push a bit higher before we came down. But then we did retrace, create a flag. And there was opportunity in here. I just wasn't convinced that I wanted to get involved there. I think more so I was just looking because of the we missed the previous structure. I think if you yeah, you could have probably squeezed with the spread. I think maybe that was probably about better. I mean, yeah, I think Yeah, I mean, Zara's definitely one of those annoying ones because some brokers give you some crazy spreads. Um, but yeah, I was looking for sort of the break of this 1, 2, 3, and then a nice flag over here, call it a hover, and then breaks. So outside hover. Unfortunately, didn't get it, so for that reason, I just left it. But in terms of where we're going now, this could potentially either turn around, so it could push down, push back up, create a flag, and we can go in long, and that could be a good play. But I think looking at that high, I think that's my sort of main high value area, and I think I'll be extra patient with this pair because it's not really one that I've really been looking at much. I've just been monitoring it from time to time. Um, but yeah, I think larger structures are really the best plays on these ones. So USD ZAR is not really one I'm going to be worrying too much about, but really good pair. So yeah, that summarizes my Saturday market breakdown. We had quite a lot of nice pairs here, to be honest. I really, really like some of these, Euro GBP, Euro Swiss, CAD. I mean, I've obviously highlighted them. So, I think going back tomorrow, I'm gonna have to go through these all again and then, kind of just filter the ones that I want to take on board. I think later today, I'll go through the ones that I haven't highlighted and go for it with a fresh set of eyes, see if there's anything that I want to just maybe give a second chance to. And then if not, then I'll just leave them as cancelled out. And then tomorrow I'll go through the ones I've highlighted pink, green, and orange and then map them out. But right now, we're kind of in a time where a lot of things are shaping up. So there's a lot of opportunity. So have to be quite strategic and smart with how I want to play it, and also have to look at a lot of variations. It's something I learned from last week, like my watch list and wildcards. They all just a lot of volatility came into the market and they didn't really play out. And I think the market's changed a lot and I could have reevaluated and done another Monday market breakdown and then kind of just changed them up ever so slightly because of the data changing. But that's something that I think I'll learn in time. I think I think there's definitely a lot of potential in the markets at the moment. Just going to be extra patient and hopefully the pairs start to shape up. So catch you all in SMB tomorrow. Take care.